That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
Although everyone's favorite green rage monster has been a vital part of the Avengers for years now, the Incredible Hulk hasn't had great success with his live-action solo adventures. Fans have been clamoring for a new solo Hulk movie starring Mark Ruffalo for years now, but some complicated behind-the-scenes issues have made that practically impossible. But fear not, Hulk lovers. There's a new rumor floating around now that should make fans of Bruce Banner and his lovable alter ego very happy. Today's video is all about the future of the Hulk on the big screen, so let's get into it right now. Alright, let's name all of the Phase 1 Marvel movies. There's Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man 2, right? Wait, shoot! That's not right, we forgot one! 2008's Incredible Hulk film does still count as an MCU movie, even if it's one most people forget about. And that's pretty understandable. Iron Man cast a huge shadow in 2008, and it's still baffling that the second official MCU film came out just a few months after Tony Stark's live-action introduction. In our minds, we just go straight from Iron Man to Iron Man 2. And it's not like The Incredible Hulk is a bad movie by any means. It's just not as well revered as other MCU films. It's like if your friend told you that he would introduce you to an Avenger, but then he shows up with Falcon. Impressive, sure, but deep down you were probably hoping to meet another hero. And even though William Hurt's Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross made his first appearance in The Incredible Hulk and has continued to pop up in the MCU since then, it's not like there's been a whole lot of continuity between that movie and the rest of the MCU. Bruce Banner even looks different. Maybe that's because after that 2008 movie, the character of Bruce Banner and his big green alter ego stopped getting solo films, instead being relegated to team-up movies, or in Thor Ragnarok's case, buddy cop space adventures. Although it's been a little frustrating seeing all of Hulk's friends get their own solo films while the Hulk franchise never had a chance with its new Mark Ruffalo-looking Bruce Banner, there's actually a really complicated backstory behind this. It's not like Marvel and Disney have been watching all these movies and twirling their evil mustaches as they continually deny giving Hulk a solo movie. Rather, the rights for the character have been super complicated for years, which has made bringing the character back to the big screen by himself almost impossible. Which makes today's news possibly the most exciting piece of Marvel rights news since they announced the X-Men and Fantastic Four reverted back to Marvel Studios after Disney bought Fox. There is a huge rumor being circulated that Marvel has gained full control of Hulk's movie rights, which would make another solo movie starring Bruce Banner 1,000 times easier to make happen. Before this rumor broke, Hulk was in a worse situation than that time he tried to fistfight Thanos. Way back in the 1990s, Universal bought the film rights for the character with the plans to make a movie about the hero. Things progressed at an incredibly slow rate, with the movie not being released until 2003 and starred Eric Bana and was directed by Ang Lee. The movie wasn't as big of a hit critically and commercially as Universal needed it to be, and in 2006 the rights reverted back to Marvel, but with an interesting catch. Universal kept its right of first refusal on distributing any new Hulk movies. Fast forward to today and that clause is still in effect, which means that Marvel Studios could make a Hulk movie, but Universal has the right to say they want to distribute it rather than Disney, which obviously means all the profit would go to Universal, and from a business standpoint, that would be an incredibly stupid decision from the House of Mouse. But the rumor going around is that Marvel Studios has regained full control of the Hulk again, making that clause obsolete. And that is great news for any fans of the Hulk, as Marvel Studios can finally move forward on more Hulk-based projects if they want to. Now, we'd gladly volunteer to become a gladiator fighter on Sakaar if it meant that this news was true. Hulk has been relegated to a side character for too long now, and it's about time he was once again in the spotlight. Because, let's be honest here, having him in supporting roles is great, and Mark Ruffalo absolutely owns the role like a big green boss, but as far as the character goes, Bruce Banner has gotten incredibly shortchanged over the years in his diminished role. Bruce Banner has always been the character most at war with the other guy inside of him. The movies have made it clear that although Hulk is an amazing weapon to have on your team, it's also quite dangerous. The Hulk is meant to just be a pure green ball of rage that destroys and smashes just about everything it sees, which makes life hard for poor Bruce Banner. Either constantly hunted or trying to keep his emotions in check, Bruce Banner probably has it the hardest out of any Avenger. Oh yeah, sure Tony, you have serious daddy issues and an almost crippling anxiety to save the world from larger threats. But you're also a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist, so it's hard to feel too sorry for you. But Bruce has to walk that fine line between keeping the Hulk in check and using him as an appropriate weapon to smash enemies to goo. And we cannot imagine how hard that is. That constant struggle to control his temper makes him one of the most fascinating characters in the entire MCU. Bruce has had an interesting arc in all of his appearances so far, with every director and writer seemingly wanting to do something else with his character. And if you truly chart his character progression throughout all of his appearances, you'll see it either doesn't make a lot of sense or feels unsatisfying on a character level. Speaking of satisfying, what could be better than one CBR video? How about a lot of them? If you haven't already, subscribe to CBR and don't forget to turn on notifications so we can bypass those tricky YouTube algorithms, or else you might make the Hulk mad. And if you're on mobile, make sure you turn on your notifications in the YouTube settings. Now back to the video. The biggest problem with the Hulk character is the lack of focus and time spent on his character arc. Look at the way he's been treated in the last few movies he's appeared in. Thor Ragnarok gave us the bombshell that the Hulk personality had taken over for a few years, and Banner didn't have a lot of time to process the fact that he was basically kidnapped and put out of commission for so long. The movie played up the fact that Banner had no idea what was happening in his body for the last few years. That's incredibly sad when you think about it. But since Thor's name was the one in the title cards, we didn't spend a lot of time with Banner as he had to process this extraordinary turn of events. Then in Infinity War, we got mostly Bruce Banner the entire time, as after a beginning fight with the Mad Titan Thanos, the Hulk refused to come out anymore. The movie ended with Banner telling the Hulk that the two of them need to sort out their differences at some point if they were ever going to continue on. But we never see that happen. We all know what happens next. In Avengers Endgame, we learn that Bruce Banner and the Hulk merged together to create Professor Hulk, which was Bruce Banner's mind in Hulk's body. And as great as that moment is to see in the movie, it raises some eyebrows if you think about it for too long. We know from Thor Ragnarok that the Hulk has his own personality and feelings. So now that Banner's mind is in Hulk's body permanently, does that mean that the Hulk personality is gone forever? And the fact that we never got to see this reconciliation and decision in the first place stems from the fact that Hulk and Bruce Banner have just never been given the proper amount of development and time as the other characters, which is truly sad. It's fun to hear Bruce explain how he became Professor Hulk, but such an important moment deserved to be told on screen. All these problems should have been explored in a solo Hulk movie, not as side plots in other Avengers films. But thanks to those pesky rights issues, that never could have happened. But now, the future could look a whole lot different for the Hulk if he's able to get his own solo movie. The big question is, though, is it too late? The one story that fans seemed to want the most for a solo Hulk movie would be the Planet Hulk storyline, which is where Hulk is sent off-world because he's too dangerous, only to land on a planet that he slowly takes over as he plots his revenge on Earth. The only problem with that is that's the storyline they sort of adapted with Thor Ragnarok, making it basically impossible to have that as a foundation of a solo movie down the line, which is a real shame. But it's not the end of the world. There are a lot of different Hulk stories out there, and any one of them could be adapted into a future film. Okay, so realistically, what does the future for Hulk look like? Could a future movie be centered entirely around Professor Hulk and his daily struggle to adapt to modern life and fit through doorways? To us, that doesn't sound as interesting as a movie that explores the relationship between Bruce Banner and the Hulk, but we'll take anything at this point. Maybe Mark Ruffalo has some ideas. He's gone on record recently saying that he had a secret meeting with Kevin Feige where Feige asked him his thoughts about the future of the Hulk and where he would like to take the character. Now, that's not a confirmation that this rumor is true, but it certainly helps in making it seem credible. Feige could have been talking with Ruffalo about the Hulk's future because he knew what was in the works for the character. Ruffalo ended up floating the idea of a Hulk vs. Wolverine fight, and now that the X-Men are officially able to be in the MCU, that could be an option down the line. Maybe a solo Hulk film could be about the introduction of mutants into this universe, and a brilliant scientific mind like Professor Hulk could investigate these new types of superpowered individuals, which puts him on a collision course with a certain cigar-chomping Canadian. That's purely speculation, but you never know. And don't forget about the new She-Hulk series coming to Disney+. That's the sort of thing that warrants a Hulk cameo, and maybe it could lead to a sort of team-up film on the big screen. In the comics, Jennifer Walters is Bruce Banner's cousin who, after a blood transfusion, becomes She-Hulk. However Marvel Studios decides to give She-Hulk her powers, it seems very likely they'll want Hulk involved in some way. So everyone, let's join together and pray to Tony Stark's angel in the sky that this rumor turns out to be true. After all this time, Marvel deserves to do with the Hulk character what it wants. There hasn't been a solo Hulk movie yet that's been universally loved and adored, but finally, after all these years, we might be on track to make that happen. Here's to hoping. Well, that's a wrap on our story today. Do you want to see a Hulk solo film? Is there a certain comic that would make a good adaptation? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more awesome MCU content. And as always, thanks for watching.